It was a beautiful day on the West London Railway. Ethan loves to do his work, even when he is a mixed traffic engine who is to pull both freight cars and coaches. And when he's not pulling them for a while, he will be sometimes helping his friends whenever they break down or they needed his help. However, Ethan was getting old, and he is due for an overhaul very soon. That night, Mr. Newton knew this and arrived at the sheds to see the engines. "Tomorrow I'm sending Ethan to the works for an overhaul, so he'll be looked as good as new." "Yes, sir. But how long am I going to be in there for an overhaul?" "Just for a couple of weeks, and you'll be alright, Ethan." "Well, since Ethan is going to the works tomorrow, who's going to do his work?" "I've decided that Andrew will be doing his work as well as his own until Ethan gets back. After all, he knows all about his work very well." The next morning, Andrew was happy that he'll be doing Ethan's work, but he was sorry to see Ethan left to the engine works. "It's okay, Andrew. Ethan will be soon mended when he gets back." "I know, Mark. It's just that I was kind of worried that Ethan won't be coming back from having an overhaul for a couple weeks, and he was getting old though. But I know he's still real useful, and Mr. Newton says Ethan was going to be alright. I know I'm getting old too, but I know I'm a still useful engine. Anyway, Mr. Newton says I'm to take his passenger trains along the branch lines. At least it's where I run on them with my own coaches. And I'll be doing some shunting duties and pulling his goods trains." "That's good to know. Now I'm on my way to collect passengers. See you later, Mark." "See you later, Andrew." Andrew took Ethan's coaches to the station where he met Megan. Megan was not happy. "Why doesn't Mr. Newton give me an overhaul today? I deserve to be looked as good as new." "Well, that's because Ethan was given an overhaul at the engine works, and he'll be back soon for a couple weeks." "Is that so? Well, I don't understand why he gives the engines their overhauls who clearly don't have them." Megan puffed grandly out of the station. Meanwhile, Mark was shunting in the yard when Chad and Ernest came in. "I wonder how Ethan's doing when he comes back from having an overhaul." "Maybe he's going to be alright out there for a couple of weeks. Mr. Newton told me about it last night." "Yeah, Andrew told me about that today too. He said that Ethan might be old, but he's really useful. He was just worried that Ethan won't be coming back from having his overhaul after a couple weeks." "I'm sure he will, Mark. So don't worry. He will come back, and you'll soon see." "That's what Andrew told me. Ethan will be alright." "Quite right. And also, I've heard Megan started complaining about wanting to have an overhaul." "I know. She's probably jealous that she never gets one." The two engines chuckled as they went back to work, leaving Mark to continue shunting. "Hello, Andrew. How are you doing today?" "I'm doing alright, Felix." "What are you doing with those coaches? I thought you got your own coaches." "Well, I do. But it's just that Mark and I are doing Ethan's jobs while he was away for his overhaul for a couple weeks. So Mr. Newton told me to take Ethan's passengers along the branch lines while Mark was doing some shunting." "Oh, I see. Well, hopefully Ethan will get better soon." "I hope so too, Felix." "Well, I've got to go now. See you later, Felix." "See you later, Andrew." Andrew enjoyed working on the branch lines with the coaches. The passengers missed Ethan very much, but Andrew comforted them at the next station that Ethan will be soon mended when he gets back. One evening, Andrew and Mark had been doing Ethan's work as well as their own, but sometimes there is too much work for them to handle. They found themselves very exhausting that they couldn't have a drink at the station and then rest in the sheds. "Hello, you two. You two sure look tired." "Yes, we just worked our wheels off since Ethan is still mended. I've been taking passengers along the branch lines. And I've been taking goods trains to their right stops. My wheels are aching so hard that I couldn't move a bit at all." "Maybe Mr. Newton can let me and Ernest do the work for you, too, so you can stay here for a break." "That's right. It will be a nice change." Just then, Mr. Newton arrived. "I know you're both tired from the day's work all week, but I'm sending another engine to help out with the extra work." "Wow, I hope it could be a tender engine like me and Ethan." "A new tank engine is only available, but all the same, I want you all to make him welcome as possible. He will be here first thing tomorrow." The engines promised to be good as gold, except for Megan, who grunted dreadfully. "How come we need another engine that's a tank engine like the three of you? I only request for a tender engine. One tender engine. Is that too much to ask for?" "Well, not really. It's only for a nice change because we do need another engine to help us." "That's right. Besides, a new tank engine could be very friendly, and even can help pulling goods trains to Johnson's station like I always do." "More like it could be a very fussy little engines like you two. I don't know why Mr. Newton keep bringing new tank engines around. He should be bringing an important engine like me instead." Now, Megan, you're just jealous that Mr. Newton didn't bring another tender engine who is as important as the rest of us are." I agreed. The two tender engines were only you and Ethan after all, Megan. Besides that, it's not that bad when Mr. Newton is bringing a new engine here. Sure, whatever. The next morning, all the engines woke up to hear the loud whistle coming in the distance. "That's strange. I wonder who that could be." I believe it must be a different whistle from someone else." "No, it's not that, Megan. Look over there." "Wait, is that what I think it is?" "Chad?" "Jackaroo! It's really you! Hey, long time no see." "So, you two know each other, right?" "Ernest, everybody, this is Jackaroo. He and I used to work on the railway along the branch lines together." "Oh yes, that's true. We were usually pulling coaches to collect passengers from Craven Station." "Really? I didn't know you two could do that." "Mind if I'm asking you two, but since when did you work together on the branch lines?" "Well, Jackaroo and I used to live on the railway called New York many years ago. Before I came here, hard times came, and some of our old friends have been replaced by newer modern engines that were there to take over the line, and our old controller brought them to run the line around the huge city." "Yeah, it was only me and Chad. Back then, we were locked up in a shed for a few days, and once our home had been stolen, we knew we'll be ended up sending it away for scrap. It was until the man named Mr. Newton came and brought Chad to here, and he was saved. Luckily, Chad and I still had good memories about each other ever since in the old days of New York. And I thought I was the only one left to work on another railway, so I kept my mind about Jackaroo, and I haven't told anyone about it until now." "Oh dear, we are so sorry to hear that, Chad. We never thought you and Jackaroo are old friends ever since then." "That's okay. I'm just glad to see Chad again. So I just wondered, who is Ethan since Mr. Newton brought me here?" "Ethan is one of our friends and a tender engine like Megan, although he's both old and wise. I'm sure you'll see him when he gets back from the works. it takes a couple weeks for him to be mended. Oh, I see. Then, at that moment, Mr. Newton arrived. Good morning, engines. I see that you all got along well with the new engine here. Yes, we did, sir. But the new engine is Jackaroo, and he's Chad's best friend ever since they have seen each other in New York. Well, that's a great reunion. Now then, Jackaroo will be helping with the goods work for Ethan. Jackaroo may be small, but he knows all about his work really well. So I want you all to be on your best behavior. Chad, will you show Jackaroo around, please? Certainly, sir. Come on, Jackaroo. I'm coming, Chad. And so Chad showed Jackaroo all around the railway. First, they were running on the branch lines, where they met Felix the tractor plowing the field close to the line. And then they shoved through the stations as they went past. Jackaroo was very impressed. Later on, Chad and Jackaroo arrive at the big station where Ernest was there shunting coaches for Megan's Express. Chad explained to Jackaroo that passengers always come first, and the engines had to come to collect them with the coaches. When he had finished, he told Jackaroo there was a goods train waiting on the siding for him to take them to the station called Ferris Station. Soon, Jackaroo was enjoying the run along the line. He arrived happily at his destination, and the loads from the cars were unloaded by the workmen. Jackaroo had a great time and enjoyed working with the other engines. He doesn't mind what he does. He tackled freight cars and coaches for the engines to collect their trains. Even Chad and Ernest joined him while they were shunting in the yards together all afternoon. At last, the day's work was done. Jackaroo was having a drink at a water tower. Just then, Megan arrived with her passenger trains. People got out of the coaches and looked at Jackaroo standing at the yard. They had never seen the orange engine before. They knew they had seen him fetching cars for the other engines to take their train. Sometimes one of them came to admire him, and Jackaroo's driver had got their autographs. Megan, however, didn't look too pleased. He's a very nice engine that he helps out with the work in the yards. Did you know that, Megan? Yeah, I know, Mark. I mean, look at him. Some of my passengers thought he looked as grand as the other engines. He may be famous, but I'm much more famous than him. I was the first engine who was to look my best and my shiny paintwork. Everyone knows that too. I know, but no one says they're better than anyone, and I'm not saying Jackaroo is as famous as you are just because he came here to do Ethan's work. Surely that was different, Mark. On the bright side, wherever I always traveled on my line, only tankages like Jackaroo can run on the branch lines and not just always run on the main line. Now if you excuse me, I'm off with my important work. That night, Megan returned to the big station when she saw Chad and Jackaroo resting. Hello, Megan. Oh, sorry, Chad. I can't talk right now. It's time for my last mainline train. I must not be late for my evening run. So that must be Megan, is that right? Yes, that is Jackaroo. Oh, what's going on with her today? Well, you see, Megan was sort of an engine who thinks she's better than us small engines. She means well, but she's quite boastful. Although today she was really jealous. Jealous of what? Suddenly, the two engines heard shouting from the station. Moments later came the alarm. "Stop all trains!" The cinnamon answered the telephone. "A special, is it?" "I see." Megan had just pulled into the station. She had been held up by the red signal and was very cross. All the traffic was halted. "Bother! Why are we waiting? I'm going to be late, and it's not even my fault." "Sorry, Megan. We've been shunted to allow another train to pass." I hope he doesn't take his time, whoever that train is." Then there was a familiar puffing noise in the distance. It was Jackaroo. He came puffing past Megan and screeched through the station and disappeared in a flash. Well, bust my buffers. The next morning, Megan was still grumbling. "Branch lines. I've been shunted away from the main line. More famous than I am. Made me late. It's just not fair. Not fair at all." "Hello. I'm sorry. I was a special." "You were?" "Yes, I was. An important passenger arrived just as you left. He ordered a special train, and Chad let me take it. We had a great run together. But it can make an engine nervous not to know the line." "That's right. You're such an expert, Megan." "Thanks, Jackaroo. And I'm sorry I was jealous. I was only expecting another big engine like me once, and instead you came here to help while Ethan is mended." "That's okay. I accept your apology." Megan felt much better. She couldn't be cross anymore, and began telling Jackaroo all about her adventures on the West London Railway. Meanwhile, at the engine works, the workmen were repairing Ethan as the job of giving him an overhaul was completely done. Jackaroo had been working hard on the branch lines for a while, and later he arrived at the sheds where Mr. Newton had some news for the engines. "My railway is very busy, and I'm pleased with you all, but you may need help. I was looking for an engine who will be pulling the passenger train on the main line, and I'm sorry to say that the only engine available who came here once before was Diesel 11 himself. I will give him another chance to behave, and if he proves himself worthy, he will stay." "What? That no-good oily scumbag Diesel?" "Now listen, if he behaves like the way he did many years ago, then I will send him back to where he came from." And with that, Mr. Newton left. Jackaroo was puzzled about Diesel 11, but the engines explained everything to him. And after he made up a serious story about Chad replacing the original number 2 engine, he was sent away in disgrace again. And so, you see, I know I am a Diesel, but I'm not always like that. I can see that. Well, I do hope Diesel 11 doesn't come here to start trouble against you all this time. I hope not too. And speaking of Diesel 11, here he comes. And sure enough, Diesel 11 arrived and surveyed the sheds. "Hello, everyone. It's great to come here again." We know, Diesel 11. Anyway, what are you doing here?" "Oh, nothing. I'm just here to see if you can let me join the group tonight." I don't know, Diesel 11. Not after I remember. You ran into the back of it and smashed a hole in the wall on purpose." "Shut up, Bruce Scrap. I wasn't talking to you." "Hey, don't you dare call Andrew that name. Not only that, but you already call all of my friends as such out-of-date objects where I show you around once, Diesel 11. "Well, he started it. He doesn't know how to mind his own business." "I am minding my own business." "Not with that rude attitude of yours." "Rude attitude? You're the one who has a rude attitude." "Same goes for you, Mr. Ugly Objects of His Wheels." Like once I remember one time you've been criticizing my problems all the time I came here to work for Ernest. It was until you steam kettles never gave me a chance because I've been trying to show more respect. Well, once I remember, if you want to show some more respect, then you wouldn't have to be so rude to the coaches and freight cars when I've showed you how to be careful with them. Coaches should be treated with care, and the cars don't like to be bumped about too. Humph! More like us important and modern diesels are doing better jobs than you did. We know how to be more careful with those lot. Gee. And who's this orange lump of scrap iron? That's Jackaroo. He's the old friend of mine. Now you better not call him any names, or there will be serious consequences. Oh really? Well, looks like I had no choice, but I have to come down here to let you all know that you're out of date. Surely it's not your fault, but Mr. Newton should scrap you and get big diesel engines like me. Filled with a fresh fuel, generating and starting, and I'm off. No bother, no waiting. They have to fuss around you for hours before you're ready. The engines were furious as Diesel 11 rode away. That blue diesel is very rude. Yes, he is. And we're so sorry you have to hear this, Jackaroo. It's okay, Andrew. Now I understand why Diesel 11 is always like that. Tell me about it. He's been like that all the time by saying such things to us just because he knew Ernest is a diesel who has been friends with important steam engines like us. I am sure we should teach him a lesson or two. I agree with you there, Megan. But how do we do it? The next morning, their chance came sooner than expected. Diesel 11 was purring comfortably. The inspector watched as the fitters making the final adjustments. The wind tugged at the inspector's hat. Chad and Jackaroo were close by, and they watched Diesel 11 as he was ready. Ha ha! Looks like I'll be ready to take the important passenger train for the big red tomato. What's he still doing here, Chad? I think he started boasting about how diesels are better than steam engines. Just watch what he's up to. Look at me, you two. Don't I look splendid? Now that I'm perfect and all shaped up, I'm ready to go. Now I'll show you something. And Diesel 11 rode proudly towards his coaches. Then, it happened. Shaking and spluttering, Diesel 11 stopped. What the? Wow, I didn't see that coming. Me too. Looks like Diesel 11 broke down. Meanwhile, the inspector was looking for his hat. Diesel 11 seethed with fury as Chad and Jackaroo pushed him back into the yards. My hat! You've sucked into your earring tape! Never mind about your hat. The heavy train is 2 hours. You'll have to take the express, Chad. Jackaroo, can you help, please? Oh, yes, sir. I'll be happy to help. The two engines were soon ready. Megan will take over from halfway, so get the train to there. Have fun, and good luck. Don't worry, sir. We'll make it there and have fun. The important train moved out of the station and out onto the open line. Are you ready for a sprint, Chad? I'm ready when you are, Jackaroo. Soon they were steaming past the junction. And next they charged up the big hill. That was when they felt the drag of the heavy coaches here. They worked as hard as they might. At last, they were running down smoothly towards the last station before the harbor yards. Hello, you're early. You guys did better than I thought. That's one of the headlamps for Diesel 11. Mark said he sickened the boiler sludge and was sulky on the siding. Well, that serves him right for saying we're out of date. And thanks for helping out. I better go and find a turntable to turn around. Ethan was due to return the next day, and all the engines were excited. All except Megan. Pa! I should get myself in an overhaul. At the junction, the engines were waiting excitedly for Ethan to arrive home. I hope Ethan's overhaul is nearly completed since now he's one lucky engine. I'm just glad he's coming home after it's been a couple weeks at least. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been doing his work. I didn't know he's coming back today. I can't wait to meet him. Oh look! The station's crowded! Why have they all come? There's no train yet. But Mark was wrong. The signal dropped, and from far away an engine whistled. I think I know what that is. That whistle must be Ethan's. Look! Here he comes! And Andrew and Ernest were right. Ethan chuffed proudly along the main line and arrived at the station where a big welcome waited for him. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to be repaired and I'm ready to be back at work. Hello Ethan. Hello. And who are you? Ethan, this here is Jackaroo. He's one of Chad's friends. He's here to do your work while you're amended for a couple weeks. Nice to meet you, Ethan. You too, Jackaroo. I never thought I've been replaced since I was sent for an overhaul. Of course not, Ethan. Ah, Ethan. It's nice to see you finally arrived. Yes, indeed, sir. I'm just glad to be home. I can see that. Now that you're here, you can now pull your trains along the line, and everyone would love to see you again. Thank you very much, sir. You know, Chad, I'm always glad to help everyone on this railway, but I couldn't have done the job without the old friend like you. And I couldn't have done the same without you too, Jackaroo. Yes, indeed. And Jackaroo, you've been a very helpful engine today, and I'm very proud of you. You are a real useful engine, and a credit to my railway. Thank you, sir. I never thought I could be one before. Jackaroo beamed proudly for Buff the Buffer. Now that Ethan had returned for being mended, he was now happy to be pulling trains again, and he is very happy to be working with the other engines. And when he and Jackaroo next met, the two engines were chatting like old friends. Even Chad was very grateful to have his best friend around. And from that day on, Jackaroo was becoming a member of the West London Railway. But what about Diesel 11? He was once again sent away in disgrace. Mr. Newton had been giving him several chances to get his act together and banned him from his railway forever. But he left two things behind: a rather nasty smell and a better bowler hat.